What is up, Rams house? Welcome back into a victory live stream. This certainly feels a lot better than last week against the 49ers. I'm sure all of you guys agree. This game was kind of weird, to be honest with you. It started out weird. Rams were able to kind of take control and be able to win the game, obviously, which is most important. But going into halftime, it was 3-3, and I was like, man, I hope we get things together because it felt like there was a lot of mistakes we were making there. That kind of kept it close first half, but the Rams made the adjustments. Second half, were able to come out with the win, 17-3, and most importantly, improved to 4-2 in what is turning out to be a very tough NFC West division. So big win today. Definitely drop a like if you could on this stream. We've got some things to talk about. I'm going to say hi to the people in the chat first off, and then we'll talk about the box score, just kind of overall picture of this game, how it went. We'll talk about the Rams defense, the Rams offense, some standout players, some concerns, and then a look ahead. That's just kind of a roadmap for today's show. So thank you, everybody who's in here. We got ATAK, who was actually in here during the Rams game. Thank you for coming in. We also have Rob in here, and we also have, I wish I could pronounce your name. I'm just going to call you Aaron Donald Picture. Thank you all for being in. I'll get into your comments a little bit more after I go through some points here. We're just going to start off with the box score because while you can't look at box scores and just say this is how a game went, they do help you to get a picture of how the game went. So here's just a little brief overview here. Rams in total offensive yards had 241 to the Ravens 296. Passing yards, they had 167 to the Ravens 117. Rushing yards, 74 rushing yards to the Ravens 179. Keep in mind, a lot of those actually came on scrambles too at the end there with Tyler Huntley. And then yards per play, 4.7 to the Ravens, 3.9. Rams first downs, 15 to the Ravens, 19. Third down efficiency, 4 for 10 for the Rams, 7 for 17 for the Ravens, 1 for 2 on fourth down for the Rams, 2 for 6 for the Ravens on fourth down, 51 total plays for the Rams, 75 total plays for the Ravens. 2 sacks allowed by the Rams, 4 by the Ravens, 2 punts by the Rams, 1 by the Ravens, 6 penalties for 40 yards, 7 penalties for 80 yards for both the Rams and Ravens. Fumbles lost. The Rams had 1 fumble loss, which actually came after that Lake interception. Ravens had 2 fumbles lost. Interceptions thrown. Rams had 0 interceptions. Ravens had 1. Finally, time of possession. Rams 22 minutes of time of possession to the Ravens 37. So that's just kind of the stats and the overview of this game. We talked about it heading into this game when you're playing a backup quarterback in the Ravens team. That is pretty demoralized right now. I mean, they've just not had the season they've wanted to have for one reason or another. Coming in to play Cooper Rush, my thought was just go out on offense, attack them. This defense has been historically bad for the Baltimore Ravens. We talked about it all week. So what was the plan for the Rams? Well, it would be to go out and attack them, put points up on the board, move the football, make the Ravens play a game they don't want to play. And what I mean by that is make Cooper Rush beat you through the air. Don't just be running the ball. Unfortunately, in the first half, the Rams offense, while they were moving really well, they were having a lot of those kind of classic miscue kind of things that we've come to see in this season, which kind of kept the Ravens in the game. They were able to, in the first half, run the ball actually pretty well with Derrick Henry. And that was just like their main game plan. As soon as Cooper Rush went back to pass, you saw him throw that interception to Quentin Lake, and some of the decision-making just wasn't quite there. So it was clear the Ravens wanted to run the ball as they should coming into this game. And the Rams offense, while they were moving the ball really well, they did have those areas where they got kind of stalled out. And actually, take a look here. The Rams offense has had a lot of these kinds of miscues in the season. We've just kind of seen this carry over. That first drive, we had a missed touchdown to Davante Adams on the crossing route on our opening drive. Stafford threw a little bit too high, and then the Ravens brought an all-out blitz on a third down that same drive, and we missed Davante Adams for a touchdown there, and then, of course, missed the field goal. Later on in the first half, we had the Davante Adams drop on the 20-yard dig that would have converted it. We had Davante Adams drop another one later after Nakua got hurt, which looks like he's trending towards being okay. And then a Whittington drop on 3rd and 3. So you kind of saw that thing where, again, Rams offense was moving really well, but they were kind of shooting themselves in the foot. And even after Quentin Lake got that interception that he did on Cooper Rush, that was a huge momentum swing. Then the next play, we had the Stafford fumble. They got it back. So I think that's what kept the Ravens in the game in the first half, and it was really 3-3 going into halftime, and that had a lot of people concerned. For me, I was frustrated, but I was also kind of encouraged knowing that we were kind of getting in our own way there a lot of the times with those drops, with those misconnections, with the fumble, all those kinds of things, missed field goal, that kind of shot yourselves in the foot and kept the Ravens in the game. And luckily, Rams were able to pull out in the second half. And as far as their defense goes, First, that was a huge stop going into halftime when the Ravens were basically on the 1 to 2 yard line, trying to punch it in with a tush push with Mark Andrews, stopped it twice. I don't know if it's just me, guys. I don't know why they blew that play dead when Jared Verse poked it out on that tush push kind of sneak play that they did and picked it up. I thought that should have been a live ball and a touchdown. But regardless, the Rams defense continued to respond, got the goal line stop that kept it 3-3 going into half, which I thought was huge for the momentum kind of side of things there. And so that was huge to be able to get that stop. Jared Verse, what a great stop there. And so it went in 3-3. And that's where the Rams really made a lot of their corrections, in my opinion. As a coaching staff, I thought they were putting their players in good positions in the first half, but it was more so the personnel misexecuting, as we talked about, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And then the Rams came out in the second half with that nice long touchdown drive. And then you saw they got the fumble again on Zay Flowers. Another Nate Landman punch out. Gotta love Nate Landman. He had 17 tackles today, which is the most by a Rams player since 2000, which is crazy. I love the Nate Landman addition there. But that's where you kind of saw things kind of matriculate for the Rams, where they were able to go down the field, get that touchdown to start second half, get the fumble, score again, go up 17-3 on the Ravens. And then you could see the Ravens they were trying to play a game that they didn't want to play, being in the hole. They're not a team that's going to want to throw it all over you when they don't have Lamar Jackson. That's where the Rams defense could really gain control of this game. And I really felt like if the Rams started hotter on offense in terms of actually putting up points and actually capitalizing on the drives that they were moving down the field, you could have gotten into this position up 17-3 a lot earlier. But luckily, all that matters is that they did it at the end of the day. It just took a while to get going to that point and to stop kind of shooting ourselves in the foot there. So Rams defense, they played really well today. Byron Young got a couple sacks there, especially late. Jared Verse with the sack. Jared Verse was just disrupting things. And I liked the way this defense played this week. They were not playing that backed off soft zone defense against a backup quarterback like we saw against the 49ers a week ago. And that was really good to see, because I think that's when the Rams are at their best, is when they're not playing backed off the way that they were. And it really, there's some cases where they can hurt you when you play that aggressive, but most of the times the Rams playing aggressive that way actually did help them out, cause turnovers. Rams had 2 fumble recoveries in this game. One, Nate Landman, as I talked about, punched out of Zay Flowers. We got it back. That was huge in the second half. Another one that Zay Flowers just blatantly dropped on a jet sweep end around kind of thing. And that was obviously a big gift, but the Rams jumped on it. And then earlier in the game, Quentin Lake getting that interception, his first interception of his career, by the way. Very happy for him. Obviously, we had our turnover right after that. But Rams defense, I think, are at their best when they're playing aggressive, when they're stacking those boxes, presenting those kind of hybrid, what's the word for it? Hybrid and I don't know why the word's slipping my mind right now. But anyway, like kind of hybrid and different style defense where they're changing the looks each kind of play to keep the quarterback, especially a backup quarterback, on their toes there. I think that's when the Rams are at their best, not playing the soft style. Let's just give up like 10 yards underneath and then we'll hope to get a stop in the red zone. Rams play best when they're aggressive, especially against a backup quarterback. And then the Ravens also made their fair share of mistakes with the turnover, which we caused, another turnover, which we caused, but another one they just kind of blatantly gave up there. So really like the way the Rams defense responded, holding the Ravens team while they do have backups into 3 points in the second half. 3 points in the entire game was very impressive to me, especially considering what they did. But you also have to take into account, obviously, we're playing backup. So you kind of hope to see that. But after that 49ers game last week, you were just hoping that the Rams defense was able to play to the caliber that they were supposed to play into and what they're advertised doing. And they did. They set up our offense in a lot of good situations. Offense got touchdowns when they needed it. I thought it was interesting when we went for it on fourth down. It was like 4th and 3, I believe. Later in the game, we had a 17-3 lead, and Stafford took that sack. So we could have gone up 20-3 at that point. I don't know if the Rams just didn't trust their kicking operation. I'm not sure what that was, but I really just like the adjustments the Rams were able to make in the second half. While you would have liked to see it earlier, it's just good that they ended up making them when we're able to come out with a win the way that they did. And it felt like the phases were kind of working together near the end of the game there, not necessarily like the entire game. So really happy to see the way that the Rams were able to respond to that 49ers game. Some standout players that I have for this game, there are definitely a lot of ones that you can look to. I'm going to start on the defensive side of the ball for the Rams. I thought Nate Landman played his best game as a Ram. Obviously, 17 tackles, most by a Ram since the year 2000, which is a crazy stat. He had that punch out. He was everywhere. While Derrick Henry, I believe, had like 124 rushing yards on this Rams defense. That is definitely true. I feel like a lot of those came in the first half, and that's like Rams made the second half adjustments there, and we were able to kind of keep them in check a little bit more than the first half. And then you also have to take into account like Tyler Huntley had some scrambles there at the end of the game that added the rushing yards. But still, Nate Landman definitely had a career day for the Rams. This was his best game. Had the punch out, his classic punch out that we saw from week one. It returned in a big moment to get the Rams the ball back in the second half after scoring. And he just was everywhere. It felt like every tackle he was in on there. So got to shout out Nate Landman there. Jared Verse also had a really good game for the Rams. Obviously had that sack, had the huge goal line stand on Derrick Henry when they could have gone up 10-3 going into half. Very impressed with Jared Verse. He was everywhere. He's just such a tenacious guy on top of the skills he has. And I loved seeing when Jared Verse lined up against Joe Noteboom because that's just such a mismatch. And we got a couple of those looks. Jared Verse was just all over the place. I still don't think they should have blown the whistle on that tush push that Jared Verse poked the ball out and scooped it up. I'm not sure what the officiating was doing there. But Jared Verse, nonetheless, he was just everywhere. Darius Williams, another guy who had a good game and I was very pleased with just because he's been struggling a lot this season. We saw Darius Williams have a couple of breakups in this game, one kind of earlier on when the Ravens went for it. And they tried to go to DeAndre Hopkins on kind of a 50-50 ball. Great breakup there. Kind of looks similar to what he did against Tennessee. And then later on in the game, Darius Williams got another breakup. He also was in on some tackles. So it was really cool to see Darius Williams have a good game again and have those plays, especially after what happened to the entire Rams secondary last week versus the 49ers. It was a good bounce back game for Darius Williams. Another guy to shout out on the defensive side of the ball for some standout players, Quentin Lake. As I talked about earlier, he had his first interception of his career in this game early on in the game. Unfortunately, it didn't really get rewarded because the Rams offense fumbled the ball right after he just got the interception, but still got to shout out Quentin Lake. He's everywhere. He plays like every snap for the Rams, every game. And I thought that he had made his impact felt in this game with his tackling as well as that interception. And then on one of the fumbles, I believe Nate Landman, when Nate Landman punched it out of Zay Flowers' hands, it was Quentin Lake that recovered the ball and got it back for us. So I thought Quentin Lake was everywhere. He had a good game. Byron Young was a late addition to the standouts for the Rams defense because he got 2 sacks there late. And with those 2 sacks, Byron Young is at 7.5 sacks through 6 games of the year for the Rams. He's definitely having his breakout year here for the Rams. Definitely making it a tough decision for them on like who they're going to keep around, who they're going to offer extensions to, because Byron Young is just playing out of his mind right now. So that's another standout there for the Rams defense. As far as the offensive standouts, got to start off here with Kyren Williams. He had some good runs in there. Never had like a huge chunk run in there, but he had the touchdown run. He was grinding it out. He was finding the holes that he could with the lanes he was given. He had a good bounce back game, no fumbles, even in the wet conditions. I'm looking at you, Kyren Williams haters. And Kyren Williams, even on that 4th down, Rams went for it. I believe is in the second half at this point of the game. 4th down, Stafford rolls out. He's trying to extend the play, throws it deep to Kyren Williams down to like the 3-yard line. Kyren somehow catches the ball, stays in at the 3-yard line, then punches it in for a touchdown. He was big in pass protection. Kyren was doing what he always does. It's just everybody always looks at the fumbles and then just blames him and says he's a bad running back. This week, no fumbles. He made the huge play on that passing play to convert on 4th down. He had the touchdown run. He had several key pickups on blitz pickups for the Rams. So Kyren Williams certainly deserves to be on here. I'm also putting Tyler Higbee on here for standout players for the Rams. He's actually the leading receiver for the Los Angeles Rams today, which nobody would have expected, especially when you have Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Tyler Higbee had 4 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. So he was the leading receiver because the next guy up was Devontae Adams, 4 for 39. Nobody else in this receiving core or tight end core had a touchdown reception. So shout out to Tyler Higbee there, having his appearance, being kind of that reliable option, especially when Puka Nacua went out, again, hoping he ends up coming back and being okay. So yeah, Tyler Higbee is on there. I would also put Devontae Adams on here. I know the Rams, they need to get this Devontae Adams and Matthew Stafford connection fully down because there's 3-4 plays a game, every Rams game, where you're like, man, like when these two get in sync and it doesn't end up being a drop by Devontae or a misthrow by Matthew Stafford when Devontae is wide open, like on that first drive, like you can see so much potential with this connection. So while Devontae Adams for the Rams today only had 4 catches for 39 yards, he did draw a 30-yard pass interference that helped convert for the Rams. and they ended up getting points on that drive. That was huge. And then, as we talked about earlier, Stafford missed Davante Adams twice in the red zone for touchdowns on that first drive when he could have gotten 7 points with Davante Adams, more yards on his stat line. Those were missed. And then Davante dropped a 20-yard dig later on in the game. He also dropped a 3rd and 10 one. So like this connection, while you're seeing flashes, it's still not fully there. And you can only imagine what it's going to be like when these two get in sync. And I still thought he made a big enough difference, Davante Adams did today, especially given the fact that Puka Nacua went out in that scary way. So definitely want to see that connection improve and get better, but you can't leave Davante Adams off of the standout players list for the Rams. I also want to put the offensive line just as a standout group here for the Rams. I know that the Ravens pass rush is not great, and you have to take that into account. They are beat up. They just traded away their best pass rusher and Adafe away. But I thought that Matthew Stafford had so much time to be able to throw today behind this offensive line. Steve Avila got worked back in at left guard again, which was really good to see him back out there providing the protection. And I felt like this was probably the best offensive line game that the Rams had. While they did have their miscues there with letting up some sacks, I thought there was a lot of times where Stafford, whether it be on a play action, whether it be on shotgun or empty, he would have the ball getting ready to throw, and he could go through 3 or 4 reads there, given the time that they were giving him. So definitely shout out to the Rams offensive line there. Good to see Steve Avila back in there once again. Very happy to see all that. So those are kind of my thoughts on standout players. As far as the concerns go, because we did get the win, love to see it, but there are definitely corrections to make for the Rams, in my opinion. You obviously have, I feel like the theme of the season for this Rams offense is like you're able to move the ball, you're able to get into the red zone, but they make a miscue here or there, and sometimes that can cost you a game. Luckily, it didn't cost us a game this time. We had a lot of miscues on the offense, whether it be drop passes, whether it be missed throws, but luckily we were able to rebound and be able to win this game. I just think the Rams need to clean up some of those things, those dropped passes, whether it be from Jordan Whittington, Davante Adams, or those missed throws to Davante Adams, which I fully expect to clean up as the year goes on. I think the Rams just starting faster on the offensive side of the ball in the first half than what they're doing would go a long way to helping to put teams away, because then you can let your defense with that pass rush really tee off. And it feels like the Rams offense this season, while they can move the ball well, they do start slower, and it takes to the second half to really make those adjustments. And you can win games against the Ravens with a game like this where you started kind of slow on offense in terms of actually putting up points. But if you're playing like a Buffalo Bills team, or you're playing, you name it, team that's a big contender with a good offense, you can't start slow. And I know the Rams have the capability to clean these things up, but definitely something we've seen throughout the season. And I hope that they're able to clean those things up, especially when we play some better opponents for sure. Another concern for me, just special teams, still just figuring out this kicking game. We didn't have any kicks blocked, which was good. We did have a missed kick. And then one of the makes that we had, I don't even know what happened. I don't know if it was because the ball was wet or what the case was, but still, you shouldn't be nervous going out there to attempt a field goal in the first or second quarter. But yet Rams fans are still worried because we just have seen some miscues there. Josh Carty missed today. I don't even remember what the range was, but I believe it was inside 30 yards for sure. He just missed it. He had a make that was really weird looking, really low, like line drive kick that almost missed. And obviously you saw some bad punt coverage here in this game too. So special teams is something I think we need to clean up. And then lastly, Davante Adams, the connection with him and Matthew Stafford, while it's yielded really good results, we've seen great flashes. There's still a long way to go. And if these two guys can get on the same page, which like I believe they're going to, especially after the bye week, and maybe even a couple weeks after the bye week, when those two guys really get in a rhythm and they're not missing on those, whether it be a drop pass or a missed throw, that's when this Rams offense can really begin to explode. Because like I told you earlier, there are always a few plays every game that you're like, man, like that Davante Adams and Matthew Stafford were so close on this play. So that's kind of concerns, but I definitely expect that to be cleaned up for sure. I think it's still just a matter of like building reps each week, given the fact that Stafford missed the time in training camp and wasn't really able to establish that connection with Davante. As far as a look ahead here, with the win today, the Rams improved to 4-2, and they are going to be heading to London next week. So it's going to be an early game against Jacksonville. Being that you're in a 4-2 start, that's great. You love to see it. The Rams usually start slow the last couple of years, but starting 4-2 is great, especially considering the fact you should have won those other 2 games that you dropped. There's still a lot of things to clean up and correct, but it's good that you can do those in a win. Jacksonville Jaguars are definitely going to be a tough team to play in London there. But the Rams need to continue to stack W's just because the NFC West is actually looking pretty competitive this year, with the main competition looking like it is going to be the Seahawks and 49ers. So those are my takes on the game. Some of your comments here. We got Rob saying Kyron ran well, protected the ball, and got what he could be or what he could considering blocking. Devontae makes those catches 9 out of 10 times, just struggled today. Totally agree with you. Glad Kyron Williams kind of had a bounce back game here. He really did have a good game against the 49ers. It was just the fumble that kind of clouded people's perception on things. But yeah, thanks for the comment, Rob. I appreciate it. Devontae definitely needs to get that connection with Stafford for sure. You know the potential that's there. We just haven't seen it fully unlocked in the Rams offense yet, but I would definitely expect it soon. Rob says, saw a few twisted tried by coach that weren't executed well by players, still have some offensive line blocking issues. Hopefully Havenstein back next week. Yeah, I hope Havenstein is back next week too. He's definitely an underrated guy at right tackle for the Rams. I thought Rams offensive line, especially in the pass protection, did pretty well today. I think you had a couple examples where they had some miscues and mishaps, but I definitely thought that they gave Stafford plenty of time to operate, which you love to see. It was my bad. I changed my jersey at halftime. Let's see. The Worm says, started out weird, understatement of the day. What do you mean? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Worm, but thanks for the comment. Payo Time, he says, let's go. Definitely, guys, make sure to subscribe to Payo Time if you haven't watched him. Great Rams YouTuber. We do a show every Friday night. Love Payo Time, man. What a guy. Rob says offense just seemed to play timid, not attacking, seemed out of sync. Took defense until late second quarter to settle down and take control. Yeah, the Rams definitely, their main issues this year is their offense starting out faster and putting out points faster, especially on teams that are wounded like this Ravens team with a backup quarterback. You really want to build up a good lead and put up points early on in the game to force the opposing team to have to be one-dimensional, to have to play a game they don't want to play against a really good pass rush. Rams haven't really figured out how to do that well, especially consistently this year. I do expect them to be able to figure it out. It's taken longer than I thought, to be honest with you, but I still have hope that they're going to figure it out. They call it because the refs had a wrong pick. Rob says Puka going out and Devontae not in sync with Matt was not good. Yeah, I definitely think Devontae had some big plays in the second half after Puka Nacua went out. One of them that comes to mind is it was coming right out halfway. Had a play action pass to Devontae that was about 20 yards. It's a crossing play. That was a good play by him. He also drew the 30-yard pass interference to get us into scoring range. So he still had his plays, but I definitely understand where you're coming from, Rob. We definitely need to get that connection more because while you've seen good things from it and you've seen good results, there's so much more that's left there that you just expect, especially two veterans, to be kind of on their screws with. The Peanut Punch gang. Yeah, Nate Landman, 2 peanut punches. What a day. I'm faking pupils. The Worm says, happy for the win, hoping Puka and Blake aren't too banged up and will rebound for next game. Landman, what a great acquisition. Couldn't have said it better myself. By the way, I like your profile picture. That's a funny profile picture. Definitely happy for the win, too. It seems like Puka Nacua hopefully should be fine next week. He actually got back in on some of those plays after the injury. I always get so scared when a player like Puka goes down there. And then Blake Corum, not really entirely sure what his status will be. His looked a little bit worse than Puka's, in my opinion, because the guy kind of rolled onto him. But Blake Corum definitely had some good runs there when he was in. Rob, love seeing Landman go off. Also happy to see Dolock out there producing, even though Reader did very good in his role. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Reader gets a lot of flack, and he definitely – I think the Rams made the right choice. They kind of switched Dolock or they switched Reader for Dolac later in the game, and Reader was more on special teams. Dolac was a little bit more on the defense in the second half. I definitely agreed with that, but Reader made his plays, and that fumble that he caused on special teams was big. Unfortunately, it was called back, but while Reader isn't everybody's favorite player, he definitely had a couple plays in there that was like, oh, okay, Reader, we'll see. I see you. Enter Landman. Yeah, the first half definitely was a little bit whack. Mr. LA Ram, he says, this team needs to figure out these slow starts and red zone issues. Those, on top of special teams, I think would be the biggest issues for the Rams all season that you've just seen continue to reoccur for this team. If this Rams team can get off to a fast start and be able to put the pressure on teams early with the personnel that you have and the coaching you have, that you should be able to do that. Everything else should be able to come a lot easier for you. The Rams are definitely just starting out slow and having those issues like you mentioned, and I keep expecting like the week after the game that we just played is going to be the one where we figure that out and start off faster. Still haven't quite seen that yet, but I'm still optimistic we can figure it out. Kyron did play well. Paul says King Henry still racked up yards. Yeah, especially that first half. That first half, I feel like the Rams' run defense was really, they were giving up like 5 yards every single run. And that was frustrating because you want to put it in Cooper Rush's hands and make him make the mistake like he did when he did throw the ball. And it felt like the Rams definitely were kind of soft in that run defense. But I will say, I mean, Henry still had some good runs in the second half. I think the Rams did a better job and cleaned it up a little bit. Second half, their run defense I'm talking about got to Henry a little bit faster than they were in that first half and be able to stop his momentum. But first half definitely had his runs, and that was frustrating to watch. I got 2 words for you. Doink. Yeah, one of the worst sounds in all of sports. Any updates on Puka or Corum? I don't know any updates yet. I haven't watched the post-game pressers yet just because I came right on here afterwards. Puka, though, did go back into the game in the second half, even after that injury. So I do expect Puka to be able to be okay next week. Corum, I would be a little bit more questionable on what his stats would be. Special teams is so out of sync. Yeah, they definitely need to make a lot of corrections there, and I hope they can do it soon. International games are always weird. Hold on to your butts, folks. Yeah, those international games, you're either going to have a weird game like today with the Jets and the Broncos where it's like 13-11, or you'll have a really entertaining, like high-scoring affair with some weird plays. So definitely not sure what to expect going into this Rams-Jaguars game next week in London, but I'm definitely going to be watching it and hoping the Rams are going to win for sure. Go Bucks! Oh, yeah, they're playing the 49ers right now. That's right. Hopefully they get the win. His dad was a DB too. Let's see. That was the most discombobulated first half for the Rams this year. I'd have to go back and look at all the other games to see if I'd agree with you, but I would definitely say, yeah, honestly, I think you have a strong case for that because not only did you have the missed field goal, you also had the missed touchdowns to Devontae Adams, whether it be Stafford missing or even later Devontae Adams dropping the ball. And then you had a Whittington drop. You had, again, missed field goal. There's so many, and then the fumble from Stafford after Lake got the interception. So I think that you could actually make a pretty good argument for that for sure. Rip Fred Warner, Niners strike again. Did they just have a good play? I don't have the game up in front of me right now. Paul said, yep, can't be starting slow. Definitely, especially when you're playing against even better teams, like no shot against the Ravens. But we all know like the Rams are supposed to win this game today, and they were able to come out with the win. But if you're playing a really good team, a top contending team that can put up points, you got to be able to start a lot faster on offense. And I really do think that the Rams can do this. A lot of people talk about it being the coaching and that being the issue. Today, the slow start was more personnel, in my opinion. And there's more of those misconnections that they had with Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams just not hitting on touchdown plays that were drawn up perfectly, that were ran well, or third down conversions that could have had, but there was a dropped pass. Like this wasn't really on the coaching staff. I felt like it was more so on like personnel not executing. Luckily, we were able to pick that up in the second half more, but definitely need to see a little bit more from the Rams and starting fast, especially against better teams. Let's see. The Worm, love your comments and analysis. Happy that you're a part of the Ramley. Best of luck growing your channel. Hey, thank you so much, Worm. I appreciate it. Best comment of the day. Thank you all for stopping in. I know a lot of people like to watch Jake Ellenbogen. He does a great job. A lot of great Rams fans to be able to watch. But the fact that you guys choose me over all those other channels, I really appreciate it, guys. I really do. Fred Warner, broken ankle. Is that true? Like I said, I don't have the game up in front of me. So as much as I hate the 49ers, I also hate injuries. So even though if Fred Warner is hurt and broke his ankle, like that kind of frustrates me because it's like I always went best on best for when the Rams play him again. And hopefully everything's well for him though. Obviously don't like the 49ers, but I also hate injuries. So yeah, honestly, just great to be able to escape out of this game. I don't even want to use the word escape because we won by 14 points. That held the Ravens to 3 points the entire game. So Rams get this win 17-3, definitely not in the fashion that we may have expected, but I think a lot of that was definitely due to the slow start on offense in the first half and field goal unit, all the things that we've talked about. And I think that the Rams are looking at a good future right now with a 4-2 start heading into London to play the Jaguars. That'll be a very interesting game to watch, to say the least. I think the Rams are in a good position. I still think you got a lot to clean up over the last 6 weeks of the season. But the good thing is you still have a 4-2 record. You're going to be heading into the bye after playing the Jaguars. Hopefully you can get a win there, improve to 5-2 in a really tough NFC West right now. But I think that it's encouraging the fact that the Rams, yes, they've dropped 2 games that they should have won to the Eagles and to the 49ers. I think it's also encouraging to know that the Rams are making all these mistakes that we're not used to seeing, like uncharacteristic mistakes, whether it be personnel or coaching, and they're still able to come out and get wins. And that's what matters at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how much you win by, whether it be 30 points, whether it be by 2 points, they count the same. So the Rams are in a good spot right now. And I have faith that they're going to be able to clean up some of these miscues. Let's celebrate this win, guys. We had to sit on the 49ers loss after Thursday Night Football on a long week, just sitting on that loss. And we get to sit on a win now. While we had our mistakes, we get to sit on a win, hopefully get healthier heading into London against the Jaguars. But I really do appreciate everybody stopping in today. You guys are the best. I'm going to end it here, catch some more football. Definitely stay tuned for more videos I will be posting for you guys. And if you guys could like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, I'd really appreciate it. But only do it if you want to. Don't just do it because I say it. If you guys want to subscribe and like, I would appreciate it. You guys, though, have a blessed day. Horns up and God bless.